Hey friends! Have you had one of those creative blocks? One of those moments where you want to write or draw or paint or create something fantastic and you just cannot think of anything, of any route. You are just clogged with all a bunch of other gunk going in through your head that is blocking your creativity. In today's video, I'm going to give you 7 helpful techniques to help you bust through those walls and be able to get back into the groove of your creativity. So before I dive in, I want to go ahead and remind you to like this video, comment down below if you've ever had one of those creative blocks yourself. And if you have, what do you do? Do you do one of the 7 techniques? Or is it something that it just has been working for you all this time, and tips and tricks that might be able to help some other people who are watching this video or commenting as well. Make sure to subscribe, especially if you're brand new to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a single post. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into those 7 different techniques. The first technique that I would suggest to you is to join a creative group. If you like to go out and meet new people, this is a great opportunity to share your creativity expertise with other people and for them to also reciprocate back to you as well. If you like to just stay home or just stay more to yourself, there's plenty of online groups too in which you can join to express more of your creativity and kind of bounce ideas back and forth from one person to another. This way it can really create some nice feedback to provide for other people that maybe they didn't even think about, or ones that you hear that you did not think about. One such example was this church that my mom and I had belonged to, and they held Monday night classes from 7 to 9 p.m. And there was one creative instructor, and sometimes we had a lot of people that would come in and join, and then there were other times that there was hardly anybody, and everyone was welcome to join. And what was really nice was we actually got to see all the different creative techniques and outlets that people really like to use, that they are blessed with these skills to be able to share with other people too. So what would happen is the instructor would take being that it's a church, he would go ahead and take a Bible verse or a saying or something that belongs with Christianity, and he would fold up the papers, and then he would pick one person each week to choose the piece of paper. None of us had any idea of what was going to be on the sheet of paper. And from there, then he had copies and everything too that we could all have. And so after the person would go ahead and pick one of the pieces of paper with either scripture, a phrase, a quote, a saying, things like that, then we all would go ahead and create something that was meaningful to us, that connected us to the writing that was on the paper. Of course, for me, being a writer, I went ahead and I wrote. I really enjoy doing stories. Sometimes I do poetry. So it just depended on what I reflected upon once I saw the words in front of me. Other people that were there would go ahead and paint, they would draw, they would do photography. And this one person, it was amazing. She'd actually come in with nothing. She would come to the class with absolutely nothing. And the instructor would ask her if there was any supplies, anything like that she needed. And, she utilized whatever was in that classroom. And she would make remarkable artwork off of this. It was like the coolest thing. And none of us even really thought of something like that. So that was really cool to see. We also had other people that were doing regular arts and crafts, like cross-stitching, knitting, things along that line, crocheting, and they would make little starter pieces or, kind of expand from there once they got home, because you got to take home the piece of paper too. So that way you could see, what was the exact phrase or scripture or writing that was there that kind of jump-started you into something else. The nice part about it too, there were so many nice parts, but the nice part about it too was that At the end of class, he usually gave about 15-20 minutes of free time for us to share. Now, we did not have to share. It was completely up to us. The nice thing about it was we were able to hear other people's interpretations and understand, to the best of our knowledge and capability, to hear how that passage or scripture or quote or phrase, whichever, led them to create this really cool masterpiece. And at the end of every person sharing, none of us were able to say, "Good job," "Hey, I really like that," or "Oh my goodness, that was phenomenal," even though we might have been thinking that sometimes in our heads, but we were not allowed to actually verbally say it. All that we could say was, "Thank you for sharing." 4 simple words. Thank you for sharing. The reason why was because this was my first experience into the world of judgment-free zone. And think about it. Whenever you are sitting with other people and you're all working on something, and you work on something especially that you are really proud of and it really means a lot to you, and you decide to share it with somebody, or you have to share it with somebody, and people don't say anything, but then the person right next to you shares, and oh, yay, that was awesome, that was so great, oh, that was good job, keep up the great work, and you did not get any of that type of feedback, you're gonna feel like poop. So that is the reason why we had those 4 simple words of thank you for sharing. And honestly, when you join a group or, chat room or wherever that you can find, there's plenty of different avenues where you can look into finding different creative groups, or you can make your own even. And my mom and I actually did this at one of the schools too, when she was doing like the latchkey program for the kids, and we would go ahead and do stuff like this where we would have them reflect upon a passage that was in one of their books that they were reading. My mom was a reading teacher, so if there was a specific book that they had read or they were reading, then she would go ahead and pull a sentence or a phrase or a quote from there that might be able to inspire some writing amongst the students too. So it was really cool. Like I said, join a group, find a group, you can create your group. This way it gives you more leeway and freeway of creativity that can spin off and give you some positive feedback. You might get some negative feedback or ones that you don't really want to hear, but it will be beneficial to you. That way you can hear it from another person's perspective. Hopefully, it's a nice group. And that when you get negative or not the best feedback, you can still take it into consideration on your future endeavors, and don't take it as just, oh, you did a horrible job. No, it wasn't that. It was just maybe you needed to structure something different if you were writing, or maybe you were painting a tree and the tree up front was super, super huge, but the tree, next to it was very, very tiny, and, but it was supposed to be the same size, things like that. So constructive criticism, but back to with joining a group, finding a group, creating a group. The second one, to go ahead, and I've already kind of touched base on this one, but to find a phrase or quote that really jumps out at you. The way that I do this is I just go to Pinterest. So I have my Pinterest board, and that you can go ahead and see as well. I'm going to put into the descriptions down below for the link on my Pinterest board, and you can see the different sayings or things that I normally find that sometimes that will jumpstart my creativity, and I will start thinking of ways that maybe I could approach it a little differently, along the lines of if I'm reading something and what was my take on it, and just kind of write from there, or draw from there, or paint, or build, or sculpt, or knit, whatever your creative outlet is. All right, the third technique that I've been doing more of is journaling. So make sure you have a notebook or a journal within your reach. I am a sucker for office supplies. When I had to go to school, the only thing that I really cared about with school, having to go back and you dreaded going there, was getting brand new office supplies or school supplies. I was so excited. So When you hear the words, get a journal, some people perfectly fine with picking up a journal that maybe they have just laying around. Other people, like myself, I like a brand new, crisp, clean journal that I can start writing in and doodling and all kinds of other stuff to be able to keep track of my thoughts or ideas that I am coming along with. So make sure that you do have extra ones. You can have like a main one. That's what I do. I have a main one over my workspace, and you can have another one by the bedside and a small one that maybe is in your vehicle. So if you do think of something, you don't have to try to mentally remember it, but you can actually write it down or sketch real quick with it. Anything that's going to keep track of your momentum and your line of thinking. So that way, when you do hit a creative block, you can go through those journals, take a look, flip through them, and be like, oh, that was a genius idea. I love it. So start keeping a journal next to you, near you, within reach at all times. On the flip side with it too is study a picture. So this is technique number 4. My mom introduced me to this when she was teaching in the middle school. She was a reading teacher, like I said, and she found or was given artwork that was from the 1920s, and it was surreal. I'm going to mess this up. Surrealism art. When my mom first showed me the pictures, I thought that they were a little different, not really my forte, but she went ahead and she told me her idea with it, that she wanted to have the pictures out for her students to be able to write a story about it. So she asked me, what type of story would I write from one of these pictures? What about from this picture? What about from that picture? And from there, I could see what she was talking about. So if you are looking at a picture, start coming up with a storyline for it. You can paint a picture of a continuing scene from it, or, if some of the colors pop out, use that in crocheting or knitting. If you see that, the one that really stuck out with me was this boy and girl and a boat, and then there was a bunch of other stuff too, but I focused in on those 3 things. So you don't even really need to encompass the whole picture when you are looking at it, but you can definitely pinpoint certain things that really catch your eye and create from there. And that will really help jumpstart too. Again, on my Pinterest board is called My Artwork Board. And again, the link for Pinterest for my account is on the front page for YouTube. It's right over by the header, but I'm also going to plug it in down in the descriptions too. So feel free to follow me on Pinterest, so that way when you do see different ideas popping up, hopefully that will help you too, especially if you get into a little creative funk with it. All right, number 5, find another way to be creative. So if you are a writer like me, start drawing, start painting, start crocheting, start doing something totally different than just writing. Because when you start thinking outside of the box and you force yourself to do something that you're not really comfortable with, sometimes that can jumpstart some creative thoughts too. So if you are a photographer, start writing. If you are an artist, start, if you're paint, why not go ahead and try drawing, or go ahead and try photography, or, things like that. So stay within the creative realm, but take a different avenue to try to express your creativity or ideas or thoughts along the ways with it. All right, number 6, the 6th technique is play a game. How fun is that? Pretty cool. So my favorite game to play, besides Tetris on my old Game Boy, because I'm an 80s child, but I love playing the board game of Scattergories, and that really gets you thinking. So I've also included a list of different games that you can play, and I put that onto my website. So JennyLynn1922.com. Make sure to check it out. I have all the links in there too of different games, but not just Scattergories, but you can do Scrabble, you can do Taboo, things along that line that will make you think, but you are having fun. That way you're not just focusing on that one thing of, okay, I'm trying to come up with this, but I can't think of anything else. This way you get outside of that box yet again, and that way we can bust through these walls. All right, number 7 dedicate your time to your creativity. If you truly want to make this a prosperous and successful lifestyle choice, you have to make sure that you carve out time to express your creativity. Even if you are given something that is work related with your creativity, you still have to find a way where you can kind of mentally unwind as well. So if you have something else that you're working on, some type of project, things like that, and it starts draining on you, just kind of put it aside for a couple minutes and start picking up whatever that you are wanting to do when it comes to creativity. One thing to do too is to make sure that you schedule at least 5 times a day, 5 minutes a day. Oh goodness. So make sure that you schedule 5 minutes a day. Oh my goodness. I know y'all are gonna fire up the comments down there. Not 5 times a day, 5 minutes a day. Schedule it as if it were an appointment that you have to go to, because we are able to make exceptions when it comes to other people, but we don't make exceptions for ourselves. I'm to blame right there. I do it all the time, but I'm learning. I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. So start carving out time. Make sure that you have at least 5 minutes each day that you focus in on your craft. So, for example, you are painting a beautiful picture and you look and it's only been 1 minute and you have a little dot onto your canvas. You're going to have days like that. It's going to be okay. Don't be hard on yourself, but stick it out for the full 5 minutes. Other days, you could get on up to the canvas and just slap on a bunch of paint and make this beautiful, amazing, incredible picture. And then you look at the clock and it has been 3 hours because you've lost track of time. You just let your mind go, you've unwinded, and you are letting the creativity flow out of you. So those are my 7 techniques that I have used, that I use still a lot of the times as well, to go ahead and bust through any of those creativity blocks. So if you want to turn your skills into a livelihood, remember, you've got to be self-disciplined. Stay focused and do not give up. You've been given an amazing skill to share with others. So be proud of yourself and keep flexing your creativity. So until next time, friends, I'll see you soon.